Welcome, voyager. Tonight, we travel not just across land or sea, but into the hearts of ancient maps. Not the kind drawn to find your way to the nearest port or measure a journey in miles, but maps that traced belief itself. The TO map, a type of early world map that represents the Afro-Eurasian landmass as a circle split by a gentle T, dividing it into three parts: Asia at the top, Europe to the bottom left, Africa to the right, all held together by rivers and seas, and at the exact center, Jerusalem. These weren't maps made for getting somewhere. They were made to understand where we already were in the grand design of things. Or, if we're being honest, they were less about directions and more about divine orientation. Like trying to use a compass in a cathedral. And speaking of divine direction, if you enjoy wandering into the sacred margins of old geography, please like this video, subscribe, and drop a coordinate in the comments. It helps us decide where to voyage next, preferably somewhere between a cathedral spire and a coastline made of parchment. Now find your quiet. Let your body settle. Let your breath become slow and steady and kind. Feel the stillness gather like dust on the cover of an ancient manuscript. Let your thoughts become quiet, soft as vellum, and ready to be written upon. Our story tonight begins in a quiet scriptorium, sometime in the 8th century. Somewhere in the Carolingian world, a candlelit room, ink pots dark with iron gall, and a monk with steady hands is drawing the known world. But he is not charting distances or ports. He is charting God. The TO map is one of the oldest known styles of European cartography. Its name comes not from any theology, but from its shape. A circle, symbolic of the earth, or perhaps the universe, and a T inside it, made by the Mediterranean Sea running vertically, and the Don and Nile rivers crossing it horizontally. Asia sits above the crossbar of the T, Europe to the bottom left, Africa to the right, and in the very center of this symbolic earth, they placed Jerusalem. These maps weren't meant for sailing. They were meant for understanding. They were theological diagrams disguised as geography. They reminded the viewer that this world, our world, was under divine design, that everything had a center, and that center was sacred. Medieval Europe saw Jerusalem not just as a city, but as a spiritual axis. It was believed to be the exact middle of the earth, the navel of creation, the site of Christ's crucifixion, resurrection, and eventual return. To place it anywhere else would be to misunderstand not only geography, but the story of humanity itself. The world, they believed, began here, and so it was drawn here. Not because they didn't know better, but because this was what knowing meant. Orientation was everything. In fact, many TO maps were oriented with east at the top, not north. That's where Eden was believed to be. Heaven above, hell below. North and south were only practical concerns. But the divine, that was due east. So if you've ever looked at a medieval map and wondered why everything seems upside down, that's why. They weren't wrong, just reverent. And the maps reflected that. Cities were not drawn to scale, but to significance. Jerusalem might be magnified in size and crowned with a cross. Paradise might be painted as a green garden hovering in the uppermost margin. The Red Sea could appear as a wide red streak, an echo of biblical escape. In this kind of geography, distance was less important than meaning. It's easy to forget now that for centuries, maps weren't tools. They were declarations, statements of faith, mirrors of a cosmic story. And in the monasteries of Europe, where parchment was precious and books were made by hand, the making of a map was an act of worship. The materials were chosen carefully. The vellum, scraped thin from calfskin, the inks, mixed with iron salts and oak galls. The pigments, often ground from lapis lazuli or malachite, carried at great cost from distant lands. To hold a TO map was to hold more than geography. It was to hold the beliefs of an age pressed into skin, lettered with patience and lit with gold. There's one especially famous example, the Hereford Mappa Mundi, created around 1300 and now kept in Hereford Cathedral in England. It's not small. It measures over 5 feet tall, drawn on a single sheet of vellum. It includes over 1,000 inscriptions, cities, rivers, creatures, both natural and mythic. There are unicorns. Alexander the Great is in there. The map teems with angels, kings, beasts, and stories. At the center, of course, is Jerusalem, just slightly elevated, like a hill above all history. Around the edges, the unknown presses in, edges filled with mystery, monsters, and marvels. But none of it is random. It is structured to show how the spiritual and physical worlds were one. Time and space collapsed into an image of divine order. It is geography as worldview. And like all worldviews, it tells you more about the people who drew it than the places they try to describe. To understand a TO map, you have to release modern expectations. It doesn't show roads or contours, no longitudes, no compass roses. It's not meant for travel in the physical sense. It is a reflection, a diagram of how people believed the world should be, not how it physically was. You see, medieval cartographers weren't trying to navigate rivers or chart trade routes. They were trying to make sense of creation itself. They believed the universe was divinely designed, structured like a cathedral, vaulted, harmonious, full of hierarchy and meaning. And the TO map, that was the floor plan. It's important to know that these maps didn't appear in isolation. They were usually bound into religious manuscripts or included in chronicles that wove together history, theology, and myth. The Mappa Mundi was not an end in itself. It was a portal, a meditation. Even the act of turning the map so east pointed upward was deliberate. It placed Eden, paradise, at the top. This wasn't just a direction, it was destiny. To journey toward the east was to move spiritually toward the source, toward salvation. At the center of this cosmology sat Jerusalem, Urbs Sancta, the holy city. Some maps even depicted it as a golden circle surrounded by walls, glowing faintly with divine symmetry. In scripture, Jerusalem was the place from which the word spread. In legend, it was where Adam was created and buried, where Christ was crucified and resurrected. To center, it wasn't simply symbolic, it was theological necessity. This worldview would persist for centuries. Even into the High Middle Ages, maps continue to echo these early forms. Though new knowledge filtered in from Islamic geographers and travelers, many European charts clung tightly to the TO structure. It was familiar, it was comforting, and it reminded them that geography was always second to revelation. But not all maps in the Middle Ages were so symbolic. Some, like the Portolan charts, which we explored before, served navigation. Others, like Islamic world maps of the 10th and 11th centuries, leaned more empirical, influenced by Greek learning and precise observation. In the Islamic tradition, scholars like Al-Idrisi produced maps with astonishing accuracy. Al-Idrisi's 12th century map, drawn for King Roger II of Sicily, depicted Europe, Asia, and North Africa with practical, data-driven clarity. But even there, the world was oriented with south at the top. Another reminder that north up was not a default, but a cultural choice. Maps, in other words, are mirrors. And the TO map reflects a world seen through the lens of medieval Christianity. Not wrong, just written in a different language. One of faith, scripture, and spiritual geography. Even when explorers began pushing beyond Europe's borders, they carried with them these older notions. When crusaders reached the Holy Land, they traveled not only as soldiers, but as pilgrims. They walked toward the middle of the map, toward the center of God's design. Later, as knowledge expanded and ships reached the far corners of the earth, maps began to shift. The TO form loosened. Realism crept in. And eventually, Jerusalem drifted from the center. Not from memory, but from the page. Yet the idea never fully left. Even now, some maps, especially those rooted in religious tradition, still place Jerusalem in the middle. The habit is hard to break. It speaks to something deeper than direction, something about longing, because all maps are, in a way, shaped by desire. Desire to know, to explain, to locate oneself in the vastness of things. And the teal map was a response to that yearning, to draw the world as centered, ordered, and sacred was a way to say, we belong here. We are not lost. There is structure, even if we do not fully see it. Let your breath fall into that pattern now. Inhale, as if tracing the circle of the earth. Exhale, as the lines of the T settle into their gentle cross. Feel your thoughts soften, held in the quiet symmetry of a world drawn with care, lit with reverence, centered by faith. You are not drifting. You are arriving, not in a city, but in an idea. In a time when the world was still sacred and the map was a window to heaven. As Europe entered the Renaissance, the way people viewed the world began to change. Slowly, the map shifted from symbol to instrument. Navigation improved. Perspective emerged. Mathematics found its way into cartography. And with it came a new kind of certainty. The earth was no longer a theological canvas, but a measurable sphere. Latitude lines stretched with purpose, and the globe spun not on divine axis, but on magnetic poles. Yet even then, echoes of the teal map lingered. You can find them in early printed atlases where Jerusalem still appears unusually large, or in decorative maps where Eden remains tucked into a top corner, waiting beyond reach. Even Mercator's projection, so famously practical, made room in its margins for paradise and biblical events. There was always a tug between the known and the meaningful. And some mapmakers refuse to choose between them. Consider the Ebsdorf Mappa Mundi, created around 1300, destroyed during World War II. A massive circle over 3 meters across. The world is drawn within Christ's body, his head at the top, his hands stretched to either side, his feet at the bottom. The world literally becomes his flesh. Jerusalem, of course, is right at his heart. These were not just maps. They were cosmologies. They said something about the structure of existence, not how to get from Rome to Acre, but what those places meant in the fabric of creation. It's easy now to smile at them, to see them as quaint, inaccurate, myth-heavy, but they were sincere. And for many, they were enough, because to be located spiritually was as important as being located physically, maybe more so. And in that sense, perhaps the medieval mapmakers weren't so far off. We still search for meaning in geography. We still center our maps on what matters to us. Sometimes our home country, sometimes the globe, sometimes ourselves. The map always starts where we stand. We don't always place heaven in the middle anymore, but we still draw belief into the lines. Even the most scientific satellite render is not free from perspective. It is captured from somewhere. It is framed. It chooses what to show, what to leave out. And that choice, that shaping of the earth into a story, is what map-making has always been. You may never look at an old circular map the same way again. Not as wrong, but as reverent, as intentional, as a prayer in ink. So now, as you lie here, resting in the hush between meaning and mystery, let yourself drift gently toward the center. Let your thoughts circle inward, like the curve of the world, drawn lovingly by hands that believed every inch was sacred. The sea quiets. The rivers divide and meet again. And there, in the middle, Jerusalem rises, not as a city of stone, but as a symbol of longing, of order, of the belief that even if the world is wide, there is a center where all things meet. Inhale, like the circle of the map. Exhale, as your thoughts find stillness at its heart. You are not lost. You are here. And here is enough. Sleep now, cradled by parchment and patience. Let the edges of the map fade away, and the center hold you until morning comes. Good night. Our second voyage of the night takes us to the edge of known waters, where charts end in curls and the sea begins to imagine itself. Somewhere west of Ireland, beyond where the gulls return and just shy of reason, there's said to be an island that shimmers into view only once every 7 years. They called it High Brazil, a place of glowing towers, soft laughter, and light. Not the flickering kind made by torches, but something more persistent, as if the stones themselves gave off warmth. Sailors claimed to see it from the deck, distant and golden, just out of reach. And by the time they adjusted the sails, it would slip again into fog. Some say it was a mirage. Others say it was a memory. All I know is it made it onto the maps. And you know you've got a good mystery when even the cartographers can't help themselves. If this kind of quiet geography interests you, please like the video. Subscribe for more tales of places real and maybe real. And drop your current coordinates in the comments. Let us know where you're chatting from. Who knows? Your location just might steer our next sleepy expedition. Now get comfortable. Let your breath slow. Feel the mist gathering gently at your feet, cool and ancient. This journey isn't fast, it's tidal. Let's drift into it together. Our story tonight begins with a map, It's 1325, and a Genoese cartographer named Angelino Dulcert is sketching coastlines with ink and memory. On his parchment, west of Ireland, beyond the Hebrides, he draws an island. Not just a speck, not a guess, a real shape, labeled clearly Brassel. This is the earliest known map to depict High Brazil by name. Over the next 2 centuries, the island would appear again and again in nautical charts. In some, it's round. In others, it's split by a river or a central strait. Most place it somewhere off the western coast of Ireland, sometimes near Iceland or the Azores, but always just beyond certainty. By the 15th century, the island's reputation had grown. Irish legends spoke of a land hidden in the mist, where the air was warm and the people kind, and time moved strangely. It was said to be cloaked in fog most days of the year, except for 1 or 2 when it could be seen, shining, golden, impossibly close. But if you set sail toward it, the winds would shift, the fog would thicken, and the island would vanish. It wasn't just a legend whispered in coastal villages. Expeditions were launched. In 1480, the Bristol merchant John Jay sent 2 ships westward in search of it. They returned with no sign, but the belief didn't waver. Some even claimed to have landed on it. There's an account from 1674 by a Captain John Nisbet, an Irishman said to be sailing toward France when his ship was surrounded by sudden fog. Out of it rose land, unexpected. He anchored. 4 men were sent ashore and later returned with stories of a lush countryside inhabited by large, quiet people dressed in black. The locals reportedly gifted them silver and bid them peace. The tale was later elaborated by a man named Richard Head, who wrote a fuller version filled with names and additional descriptions. Whether he invented parts of it or merely repeated what he heard, it's unclear. What matters is that the island's presence, real or imagined, was consistent. High Brazil became more than a dot on a map. It became a place in the mind, a symbol, a horizon made of hope. The name itself is curious, not to be confused with Brazil in South America. Though the similarity caused confusion for some later readers, High or I comes from an old word for island, and Brazil may be derived from I Brazil, a legendary Irish clan, or from Bress, an old Celtic root meaning beauty or enchantment. Whatever the etymology, the name clung to maps for centuries. Even in the age of enlightenment, when maps grew more precise and telescopes stronger, High Brazil lingered. As late as 1865, it appeared on some British Admiralty charts. It was gradually moved westward, reimagined, demoted from certainty to curiosity, and finally erased. But it never quite disappeared. Because the sea remembers. Because fog leaves room for imagination. And because every age has its High Brazil, a place so close You can almost reach it, but not quite. A kind of geography made of longing. Let your breath move like waves now, in and out, a slow tide. The kind of tide that brushes against a shore you can't see, but somehow know is there. As cartography advanced, maps became more scientific. Tools improved. Theodolites replaced guesswork. But even as coastlines grew sharper, there was always a corner, a quiet spot on the page where Hebrasio lingered. The island was still being charted as late as the 18th century. On maps printed in London and Paris, you'll still find it. Sometimes a soft circle off the coast of Galway, other times a crescent closer to the Atlantic void, even in 1831. It rose up through haze, then disappeared again before his vessel could approach. And with that, the legend breathed once more. But let's go back for a moment. Long before telescopes or printed atlases, to the shoreline of Ireland, where this legend was born. The west coast, especially around Galway and Mayo, has long been a place of mist. The cliffs are high and abrupt. The waves tire themselves out before ever reaching the sand. In these regions, it's easy to see how an island could appear and just as easily vanish. Atmospheric refraction, some scholars argue, may be responsible. On rare days, temperature and air conditions create a kind of lens above the sea. This phenomenon, known as fata morgana, can project distant objects or even mirror the sky onto the horizon. Islands from far away may seem closer, lifted high, distorted by waves of hot and cold air. And if you've ever stared too long into the sea mist, you know it plays tricks. Ships appear before their sails. Land seems to breathe. Even the horizon bends. To a medieval sailor, far from home, exhausted and searching for shore, a shimmer of land could easily become high Brazil. But if that were the whole story, it would have disappeared with the first telescope. It didn't, because stories persist, not because they are accurate, but because they are needed. High Brazil became more than an island. It became a kind of compass of the heart, an unreachable place that, just maybe, someone had once touched. And we can trace its roots even deeper into Irish mythology itself. Ancient tales speak of Tír na Nog, the land of the young, an island of eternal youth, beauty, and joy. A land unreachable by normal means, but sometimes glimpsed beyond the sunset. Sailors might be taken there, often without warning, and when they returned, if they ever did, centuries had passed. The echoes are unmistakable. High Brazil, like Tír na Nog, belonged more to the soul than to the soil. The medieval world made space for such things. It was not embarrassed by mystery. The sea was large, And who was to say what lay just beyond its known edge? And in a time when suffering was real, when maps were filled with monsters and prayer, the idea of a shining island where the fog lifted, where light poured from the stones and no one aged, wasn't just plausible. It was comforting. Now let yourself drift with that thought. Let the fog around your thoughts thicken, but kindly, not confusion, just softness. Let each breath lift the sails of your imagination, not toward answers, but toward stillness. Not everything has to be known to be true. In 1870, the famed French astronomer Camille Flammarion published a woodcut showing a traveler reaching the edge of the earth, peeking through the firmament to glimpse the machinery of heaven. It's not directly connected to High Brazil, but the sentiment is similar. That somewhere, out beyond the visible, the sacred mechanics of wonder still hum. High Brazil, whether myth or mirage, reminds us of that there are still places not drawn to scale, places that return only on a cycle every 7 years, or perhaps only once in a life. And if you see it, you may not know how to get back, because the sea doesn't leave signposts, just currents and longing. The last printed charts to include High Brazil appeared in the early 1800s. By then, the age of exploration had long given way to steamships, sextants, and official hydrographic surveys. Accuracy mattered more than myth. Sailors demanded coordinates, not poetry. And yet, there it was, one last time, near the 52nd parallel north, west of Ireland. A fading smudge on the edge of certainty. Then, finally, the name disappeared. Not because someone proved it wrong, but because people stopped needing it to be right. The sea didn't change. Only the eyes that looked upon it did. Still, there were whispers. As recently as the 20th century, fishing boats from the Aran Islands told of strange lights on the water, or islands where none should be. Radio signals echoed oddly. Compasses hiccuped. And for a moment, just long enough for doubt to settle, High Brazil returned. Some believe the name or the idea of it influenced more than just charts. In Brazil, the South American country named for a kind of wood, not the island. Some folklorists argue there's a quiet entanglement of myths, that the idea of a land across the sea, glowing with potential, resonated so deeply that explorers and map makers projected it onto real places, that the dream of High Brazil stretched across oceans, even into names. Others have noted how the island has quietly threaded its way into fiction and film, tucked into the backdrop of stories that lean gently into the unknown. It's even appeared in government UFO files, where some believe it represents a lost civilization or advanced island culture. Those theories are more modern, speculative, and not grounded in the quieter history we've followed tonight. But even they speak to something timeless: the need for mystery, the comfort of unreachable places, and the beauty of a thing that appears only when the world is quiet enough to see it. Let your breath move with the tide of that thought. Inhale like watching fog rise from the sea. Exhale as the island slips back into the mist. Somewhere out beyond the spray and the surf, high Brazil waits, not for discovery, but for stillness, for quiet hearts, for wandering minds softened by evening. Not every voyage leads to land. Some lead to memory, to the spaces we make between belief and evidence, to the corners of the world where we let wonder remain untouched. Even now, if you stand on the cliffs of Maher or wander the pebbled beaches near Galway, you might spot a shimmer on the horizon, a glint between the waves, a moment where the sky leans down and becomes shoreline. And in that breath, before the mind corrects itself, you might see towers, you might hear music, you might remember that not all places were made to be found. Some were made to be waited for. Some only arrive when everything else has grown quiet. So sleep now, with the sea beneath you and fog curled around your thoughts. Let high Brazil stay out there, glowing softly, returning every 7 years, or perhaps every night in dreams. Close your eyes, let the tide pull back, and let the island remain, waiting. Good night. Welcome back, Voyager. Our third story of the night casts its net far out into the open sea, where lightning sometimes glows green and masts catch fire without burning. These weren't imagined by frightened deckhands. They were seen, documented, and whispered about in every harbor from Cadiz to Calcutta. We're talking about the mysterious green flash, that fleeting burst of emerald light that appears just as the sun vanishes below the horizon. And about St. Elmo's fire, the eerie blue-violet glow that dances on the tips of ship rigging before or after a storm. They aren't quite the same phenomenon, but to sailors past, they belonged to the same strange realm of sky, fire, and omen. Naturally, when you're thousands of miles from shore, sailing a wooden vessel under an open sky, anything that lights up the heavens in colors other than white or gold tends to earn your attention, and maybe a prayer. If you're just discovering this channel, where we sail through quiet maritime mysteries and cartographic dreams, do consider liking this video and subscribing for more. It helps us keep drifting further into tales that glow at the edge of fact and legend. Drop your coordinates in the comments. We'd love to know where you're listening from. And if your harbor hides a strange story, it might just become a future episode. Now, take a deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the hush of ocean spray. You're not sailing yet, but you're already on the deck. The wood gently moving under your feet. Let your thoughts soften like canvas in low wind. Our story tonight begins in the quiet space between storm and calm, where strange lights speak in the language of weather. It was common knowledge among sailors for centuries that a ship sailing into bad weather might be visited by something extraordinary. When clouds gathered and the wind thickened, men would glance up at the masthead. If they were lucky, they might see it. Not fire in the destructive sense, but a glow, blue, violet, sometimes white, as if the air itself had caught light. They called it St. Elmo's fire. It's not lightning, not really. It's what physicists today call a coronal discharge, a phenomenon where electricity builds in the atmosphere and escapes at a pointed object like the tip of a mast, a weather vane, or even a shepherd's staff. But to sailors in the age of sail, this glow was more than science. It was a visitation. Saint Elmo, or Erasmus of Formia, was the patron saint of sailors. According to legend, he once preached through a lightning storm without flinching. Later, sailors believed that when his namesake fire appeared, it was a sign of protection, that the storm might pass, or at least that the ship would endure. Not everyone agreed. Some feared it. They called it corposant, from the Portuguese word corpo santo, or holy body, and treated it with awe. There are logbook entries from the 16th and 17th centuries describing it in terms as reverent as they are anxious. Sailors knelt, wept, or stood in total silence, watching the glow ripple across the yards like blue oil fire. Others saw it as a sign that death was close. It's recorded aboard the Victoria, Magellan's surviving ship from the first circumnavigation. That St. Elmo's fire appeared just before one of the worst storms of the voyage. The men saw flames dancing at the masthead and rigging. One man wrote that it looked like a torch of blue fire swaying gently at the bow. Later that night, the sea turned violent, but the ship survived. And so the glow was remembered not just as a warning, but as a benediction. Far from land, the sea becomes its own cathedral, and the sky its stained glass. Now, keep your breath steady. Feel your body sink deeper into calm. We're still in the storm's shadow, but nothing here is rushing, only flickering. The other light, feared by sailors, was rarer still. The green flash, Unlike St. Elmo's fire, it doesn't emerge during storms. It arrives at the day's most delicate moment, just as the sun slips below the horizon. A brief, brilliant flick of emerald light appears. If the air is clear and your view uninterrupted over water, you might see it, but blink and it's gone. The flash has been recorded for centuries. Jules Verne wrote about it in his novel La Rayon Verte. Observers in the 19th century believed it was proof of atmospheric lensing, a bending of light through dense air layers. And they were right. The green flash occurs because our atmosphere bends sunlight, and green wavelengths are the most visible just before the last sliver of the sun disappears. The blue light is scattered, the red already gone. What's left is a glimmer of green, dancing for half a second before vanishing. But long before optics explained it, people believed it was something more. Some said it was the soul of the sun saying goodbye. Others claimed that if you saw the green flash, you would never again be deceived in matters of the heart. A comforting notion when your only companions are sea and sky. As centuries passed, the sightings didn't stop. In 1870, a team of French meteorologists documented the green flash from atop the cliffs of Etretat. In 1929, sailors aboard a steamer crossing the Gulf of Aden recorded its appearance 3 nights in a row, noting how its color resembled sea glass lit from within. But for those who lived and died by wind and water, the flash held deeper meaning than any atmospheric manual could contain. It was a signal, quiet, wordless, and glowing, that the world was still capable of mystery. And when mystery shows itself to a sailor, it's not something they dismiss. It's something they file away, quietly, gratefully. The sea has always been a landscape of partial answers. Storms come and go with only hints of warning. Currents run beneath ships like ancient intentions. The sky writes stories in a language only the patient can begin to learn. So, when the horizon flared green, even for half a second, many sailors didn't reach for science. They reached for ritual. Some touched the railing, some whispered a name, some closed their eyes and simply listened to the silence that followed, as if the ocean had drawn a breath and was holding it. Now, let's turn for a moment, slowly, toward another glow, a more ominous one, a kind of light that wasn't flickering on the mast or flaring at sunset, but slicing through the clouds in unnatural colors. There are rare reports, even today, of lightning that appears green. It's not the color of envy or of spring. This green is deeper, almost metallic. It's been seen in typhoons near Japan, in violent thunderstorms over the Caribbean, and, most curiously, in maritime tempests where ice crystals hang thick in the upper atmosphere. Green lightning is not a separate phenomenon, but rather a trick of conditions. When the storm clouds are dense enough and the air thick with moisture, the electric discharge can refract through water vapor, bending its light toward the green end of the spectrum. Sometimes it's enhanced by hailstones, sometimes by volcanic ash. But to those who saw it, science arrived too late. The green bolt, arcing from cloud to mast, looked nothing short of supernatural. A French naval log from 1847 mentions it briefly during a storm off the Cape Verde Islands. The entry reads, "Lightning flashed in sheets. Once it came green as absence, silent, striking the crow's nest. No thunder, just silence and the color. Men froze." Another account from 1903 off the coast of Chile describes a single green fork crawling down the mast with no noise and disappearing into the sea without a splash. These weren't the moments sailors looked forward to. They were the moments that felt like warnings, like someone had lit a lantern in a room no one was supposed to enter. Still, it's worth noting that not all these encounters ended in disaster. In fact, green lightning and St. Elmo's fire were often seen together, twin signs of electrical tension in the air. The first, sharp and sudden; the second, slow and whispering. Sailors believed that if you saw both, you were living on borrowed time. The storm had noticed you, and what happened next depended not on your strength, but on the mood of the sea. Yet within this fear, there was also awe, because these lights, unnatural as they seemed, reminded those at sea that the world was still wild, still alive, still filled with things that couldn't be charted. Let your breath slow with that thought. You are surrounded by darkness, but it's not empty. It's filled with quiet pulses, with the memory of glowing rigging and green shadows across wave-slicked decks. This is what made a sailor stare upward instead of down. This is why maps were drawn with sea monsters at the edges. Not because they believed in monsters, but because they understood that the sea, like the sky, will always contain a little more than we're ready to know. Even now, on oil rigs and naval carriers, mariners report the occasional violet flicker on metal surfaces. Pilots in high-altitude aircraft glimpse the edge of the green flash, even above cloud line. And while satellites and radars explain nearly everything, they cannot yet replace the stillness of watching it with your own eyes. Just you, the sky, and that impossible color. Let us now return once more to the open deck, to the hush before a storm, where the sky dims but doesn't fully darken, and every sailor's glance turns upward. In this stillness, St. Elmo's fire sometimes reappears. Accounts from World War II mention it dancing on the wingtips of planes and curling around the noses of bombers in the Pacific. Soldiers watched in silence, unsure whether it was a sign of divine protection or a warning. Charles Lindbergh, in his solo flight across the Atlantic, noted a strange electric glow on the propeller blades and struts of his Spirit of St. Louis. He didn't name it then, but he felt its presence and wondered if the aircraft itself had crossed into some suspended, charged space. Even in space, astronauts aboard the International Space Station have witnessed rare flashes of green and violet over tropical storms. The phenomena are now known as transient luminous events, sprites, jets, and elves. Brief but powerful electric discharges in the upper atmosphere. They are beautiful and largely harmless. But when you are alone, moving across dark water or high above the earth, beauty can feel indistinguishable from terror, especially when it glows. In the days of wooden ships, before modern forecasts, the sea was both map and mystery. Sailors followed stars, wind patterns, seabirds. They trusted their tools, yes, but they also trusted signs. Light in the rigging, a strange scent in the wind, an echo that shouldn't be there. The green flash and St. Elmo's fire were warnings, gifts, and riddles all at once. They told sailors, "Pay attention," and so they did. They watched, and they remembered. In one account from a Dutch East India Company vessel in 1639, a chronicler wrote, "The mast glowed faintly at first, then swelled to a steady crown of light. No sound, only the creak of the ropes. All men halted. The sea grew oddly still. Some knelt. Some did not speak again until morning. There is something sacred about silence after fear, about light that comes not to harm but to remind that you are small, that the world is wide, and that sometimes it speaks without words." Even now, maritime academies teach the science behind these lights. Pilots study the layers of the atmosphere that allow the green flash to occur. Weather scientists model the patterns that can cause coronal discharge. The answers are clearer than they were 500 years ago. But the awe remains, because no matter how many textbooks explain it, standing at the edge of the earth and watching a violet fire wrap itself around a steel antenna still feels ancient, still feels like something older than science. And perhaps it is. Perhaps St. Elmo's fire is not just electricity, but memory made visible. Perhaps the green flash is not just a phenomenon, but a final nod from the sun before sleep. Let that thought settle into you. Let your breath slow again. Inhale like pulling in salt air on a calm night. Exhale like the soft gust that carries a ship forward without effort. In the quietness that follows a storm, many sailors reported hearing strange things. A hum in the rigging, a faint ring like a bell underwater. Some said the glow carried a sound. Others said it didn't, but that their ears still tingled. They would stand there, rain-soaked and blinking, knowing something had passed, and yet nothing had changed, except everything had. Stories of the sea aren't always about where you go. Sometimes they're about what you survive, what you witness, what you carry back with you. And light, especially light that doesn't burn, is easy to carry, harder to forget. On certain nights, from cliffs in Scotland or beaches along the west coast of Ireland, you can still catch the green flash if you watch the horizon closely. Sailors today might laugh about St. Elmo's fire, but they still glance up when the wind feels charged. And even those who've never been to sea still feel something when a storm rolls in. Some part of us remembers the smell of ozone, the gleam on wet rope, the flicker of impossible color. It lives in our bones, the way old maps live in libraries, quietly waiting for a reader. So, if you ever see it, the green light at dusk, the blue glow before rain, know that you've joined a long line of watchers. A tradition of eyes turned skyward. You don't need to believe in omens. You only need to pause, to notice, to let the strangeness speak. And as it fades, let it leave behind the one thing it always carried with it: stillness. Good night, Voyager. May your dreams be steady, your thoughts slow and glowing, and your skies always just strange enough to wonder. Welcome, Voyager. In our final tale of the night, we're stepping quietly into the ticking heart of history, where seconds once spelled survival, and a few minutes' error could leave a ship dashed against the rocks. This is the story of time at sea, or more precisely, why it was so hard to tell. Long before GPS and satellite clocks, the world's oceans were mapped by guesswork and gut. Latitude was easy enough. Just read the height of the sun. But longitude, that invisible web of vertical lines wrapping the globe, was far trickier. Getting it wrong could send your ship hundreds of miles off course. And it often did. So tonight, we drift through a soft chronicle of shattered hulls, ticking brass, and the long struggle to keep time at sea. We'll pass through shipwrecks off the Scilly Isles, pause at royal observatories, and trace the delicate hands of marine chronometers that changed the fate of nations. And, speaking of time, now might be the perfect moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, where history glows softly in the dark. Drop your coordinates in the comments. We love hearing where you're listening from. And maybe, just maybe, your harbor has a tale waiting to be told. Now, take a deep breath let your body rest. Imagine the hush of canvas overhead, the slow creak of timber, and the quiet tick of a timepiece keeping watch in the captain's cabin. Let your thoughts slow and feel the tide of the story draw near. Our story tonight sets sail in the year 1707, off the coast of England, where disaster strikes in the dark. The Royal Navy had been returning from Gibraltar, sailing north in a formation of 21 ships. They believed they were safely approaching the English Channel, but they were wrong. A grave miscalculation of longitude had placed them farther west than they realized. In the mist and confusion, 4 of the fleet's largest ships struck rocks off the Isles of Scilly. Nearly 2,000 men died. It was one of the worst disasters in British naval history, and in its wake, something shifted. The nation realized that guessing longitude simply wasn't enough. The problem was simple to describe, but devilishly hard to solve. To know your longitude at sea, you needed to know the exact time back home. Say, at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich. If you could compare local noon on the ship to the time in London, you could calculate how far east or west you were. But keeping time accurately on a rocking, swaying ship, surrounded by salt and humidity, with no way to adjust your clock for days or weeks, that was nearly impossible. Pendulum clocks, so precise on land, were useless at sea. Their delicate swinging arms were thrown off by every tilt of the deck. Temperatures shifted their materials. Salt air rusted their gears. They simply couldn't be trusted. And so, the great race for longitude began. In 1714, the British Parliament passed the Longitude Act, offering a reward of £20,000 to anyone who could solve the problem. That's millions in today's money. Suddenly, the quest to tame time at sea wasn't just scientific, it was personal, and it was urgent. Many tried, and many failed. Some proposed using the moon, others the eclipses of Jupiter's moons. A few even suggested firing rockets or ringing bells from shore. But these were elegant theories, poorly suited for soaked decks and stormy skies. Then came John Harrison, a self-taught carpenter from Yorkshire with a passion for gears. He believed that the answer didn't lie in astronomy, but in mechanics. If you could build a clock that resisted the sea's motion, that kept ticking steadily despite storms and swells, you could unlock the longitude. He began with wood. His early clocks used hardwood components that resisted temperature changes. Then came brass and intricate balance springs, and innovations in lubrication that wouldn't gum up in the cold. His clocks ticked differently. They ticked better. It took Harrison decades. He built and tested 4 marine timekeepers, each one better than the last. His 4th, H4, looked more like a pocket watch than a clock, but it worked. In a sea trial to Jamaica in 1761, the H4 kept time so precisely that it allowed the ship to determine its longitude within half a degree. That was a revolution. And the seas would never be the same. But recognition came slowly. The Board of Longitude, perhaps unwilling to reward a humble craftsman, demanded repeated tests. Harrison, already in his 70s, had to plead his case before King George III himself. The king, reportedly a fan of clocks, supported him. And eventually, Parliament granted him the bulk of the prize. By then, the marine chronometer was becoming standard. Small, heavy, carefully gimbaled, and locked in padded boxes, these clocks traveled the world. Every naval ship carried one. Merchants, too. They were synchronized at port, then trusted to carry Greenwich time across oceans. And every noon, a sailor would stand on deck, measuring the sun, comparing it to the chronometer, and plotting the ship's true position on a growing web of charts. No more guesswork, just a steady tick and a line drawn in pencil across a map. These chronometers became symbols of precision and progress. But they were also objects of comfort. In the vastness of the sea, surrounded by the unknown, they were tiny islands of certainty. Their ticking was a heartbeat, a reminder that someone, somewhere, still knew exactly what time it was. Some were beautifully crafted, engraved with the names of their makers. Others were more rugged, built for harsh conditions. But all of them had one job: to keep the world connected to itself. Eventually, these timekeepers made their way into science. Explorers and naturalists carried them on global voyages, using them not just for longitude, but to synchronize meteorological readings, observe eclipses, and record volcanic events. Darwin had one aboard the Beagle. Cook had several. And wherever they sailed, they brought the ticking heart of London with them. But they were not just tools of empire or commerce. They were also quiet witnesses to solitude. A ship alone in the Pacific might hear only wind, waves, and the gentle tick of a clock measuring out Greenwich seconds. Long before radio, long before satellites, that clock was connection. Time told them where they were, but it also told them where they came from. Chronometers soon became a symbol of trust. Ship captains would secure them in special lockers. Some were wound by only one trusted officer each day, always at the same hour. A ritual, a reverence. Because if the chronometer failed, the ship was lost. To adjust for minor changes, navigators used a table called the rate book. It recorded how many seconds the chronometer gained or lost per day. Even the best chronometers drifted a little. But with care, correction, and attention, they stayed true enough. When a ship arrived in port, one of the first stops was the local observatory or time ball tower. A check, a recalibration. The ball would drop at a precise moment, usually at noon, and chronometers across the harbor would be set anew. These moments became part of maritime rhythm, a daily pulse of precision. Greenwich itself became more than just a place. It became a reference, a home signal. 0 degrees longitude, the prime meridian. Every timepiece pointed back to it. Every ship, no matter how far it strayed, held that connection. And slowly, a network of time began to form, not just on ships, but across railways and telegraph lines. As land travel quickened, standard time zones emerged, all drawn from that original struggle to know where you were at sea. We owe much to those little boxes ticking below deck. The great irony is that many sailors didn't understand how they worked. They didn't need to. They only needed to know that they did. Like faith in the stars, faith in time became its own compass. When everything else failed, the chronometer remained. But chronometers were not immortal. As the 19th century turned to the 20th, new technologies arrived. Radio signals began to pulse across the oceans. Ships could receive time corrections straight from shore, measured by atomic precision. No longer were they alone. The heartbeat of Greenwich now came not in brass and gears, but in invisible waves, constant and exact. And then came quartz. With its electric hum and unwavering beat, quartz timepieces revolutionized accuracy. No need for careful winding, no daily rate books. The chronometers were retired, moved to museums, libraries, glass boxes where visitors now peer inside and wonder how something so small could once guide so much. Yet, some of them still work, still tick, still measure the rhythm of the earth, the sun, the sea, restored by patient hands, or preserved in their original cases. A few still whisper their secrets if you lean in close enough to listen. They are relics, yes, but also reminders of a world where time was not invisible, where every second had weight, and knowing it precisely was the difference between landfall and shipwreck. There's something deeply human about the struggle for longitude. It wasn't just science or ambition or conquest. It was about orientation, about wanting to know, in the vast uncertainty of the world, exactly where you stood. And in that way, nothing has changed. Even now, when our phones hum with satellites, when maps scroll beneath our fingertips, and clocks adjust themselves silently in the night, we're still navigating, still measuring ourselves against unseen lines, still searching for bearings. You might not be on a ship tonight, but perhaps you too are adrift in your own ocean of thoughts, waiting for a signal, a star, a ticking second to tell you where you are. Let the quiet of this moment wrap around you like warm canvas. Let your breath settle, slow and deep. Imagine a wooden ship, alone on the water, a soft sky, a silver moon, And down below deck, in a velvet-lined box, a single clock ticks. Not too fast, not too slow, just perfectly steady. It has no idea where it is, but it knows exactly what time it is. And that, somehow, is enough. Sleep now, with that knowledge in your chest. The sea is calm. The stars are quiet. The clock is still ticking. And you, Voyager, are exactly where you need to be. Good night.